Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Extreme Paint and Body's Sergeant Spray Gun Productions. I hope you enjoy this video.
Hi, welcome to this episode of my tutorial video, Painting Ghost Flames Part 1. I've already done some of the prep work. The panel is ready to go. I've cleaned it, I've applied the base, I've applied the intercoat clear, and now we're ready to stuff it up and lay out the graphics. I'll be using the DeVilbiss Techno Pro Light. I have the HV30 HVLP air cap for base coat and intercoat clear. I'll also be using that air cap to apply the ghost effects, and I'll be using the TE20 conventional air cap to apply the clear coat. I hope you enjoy this video.
The first step, once the panel is prepped, is you want to clean the panel with wax and grease remover to remove any contaminants that might be on the panel from touching it, or airborne contaminants that might have gotten on the panel. After that, you want to take a blue tack rag and wipe off any lint that might remain from the towels or cloths from the wax and grease remover. I like to use a little air from the gun as I do that. One thing I'd like to mention, when you are cleaning panels, I wouldn't recommend regular kitchen paper towels for cleaning. I use the blue shop towels. They're a little more expensive, but they don't leave paper and lint behind like regular kitchen paper towels. Here on the panel, to simulate a primer spot, I just applied some silver base coat. I didn't actually use primer because I would have had to wait a few hours for the primer to dry and then sand the primer. So just to illustrate that when you're painting a panel and you got a primer spot on it, you want to cover the primer spot first before you start getting complete coverage on the whole panel. The next thing I do is I'll go around the edges and get just the edges. This will help prevent any transparencies around the edges if you're just spraying straight down on the flat parts of the panel. You'll see that when you flip the hood over or mount the hood and open it up around the edges. If you don't do this, you'll have no coverage or bad coverage on the edges, and you will see it. You might not be able to tell, but I am triggering the gun at the end of each pass. I do that when I'm painting end to end, just out of habit, along with painting a whole car, going from panel to panel. A lot of painters, they'll just pull the trigger, leave it triggered. Wastes a little bit of paint, in my opinion. This will also, triggering the gun will also prevent dark spots when you change direction on your pass from overloading the paint from changing directions. First coat of base is applied, let it dry. 10 or 15 minutes is usually plenty. Second coat of base coat, starting to get better coverage. This particular color covers pretty decently. There's a lot of colors out there like silvers, maroons, yellow. Yellow is especially bad, that don't cover well, and it's especially important with colors like that to get that primer spot covered. at least 90% of the way before you start painting the whole panel. With yellow, it doesn't matter what brand of paint you're using. You have to put that on a white ground coat, or it'll take 6 or 8 coats of yellow to get complete coverage. Just a little tidbit of information. Third and final coat of base coat. I'll tack this coat off. I don't always tack every coat, not on something this small. A complete paint job, yes, I'll tack in between each coat, including the surrounding masking material. One more time around the edges, just to make sure everything's covered. You may have noticed that this hood's got several pale dings in it. It's just a piece of scrap I'm using as a demonstration. This isn't an actual job. Nobody's paying me to do this. I'm just doing this for a video to demonstrate doing some ghost flames. Ghost flames go particularly well on dark colors, black especially. If you're able to do any airbrushing in some real fire or true fire, depending on, some people call it real fire, some people call it true fire. Those artists, they're different artists than a car painter. They like to do their real fire on top of black. That's the preferred color. Here I am just messing around with the adjustments on the gun just to illustrate how you can change how the gun sprays just by adjusting the fluid needle, the fan pattern, and the air pressure. I sped up the video here just to make it quicker. What I'm going to put on now is an inner coat clear. All it really is a transparent base coat. What that will do is it'll provide a barrier in between the blue base coat and the graphics that I'm going to put on it. That way I can let it sit overnight, a few days if I want, and I can sand the inner coat clear for a mechanical bond rather than a chemical bond without disturbing the metallics in the blue base coat. If you're fast enough or the graphics are simple enough, you could do your graphics right over the base coat without inner coat clear, but you have to do it all within the recoat window of the base coat, which is generally 8 to 24 hours. And I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to apply an inner coat clear, just let it set, and the next day I'll get out, sand the inner coat clear, and start working on my graphics. This inner coat clear is applied exactly like the base coat, because that's basically all it is. It's base coat with no color. And the only purpose, like I said, is to provide a barrier so you can sand the panel without actually sanding the blue base coat, because if you do that, you will disrupt metallics in the paint and you will see it. A lot of novice painters, I think, believe that in order to get a good paint job, you have to sand the base coat before you clear coat it, and that is absolutely not true. If you do that for whatever reason, you would have to apply more base. That's not to say if you get a dirt nib in your base coat, you can sand that out, but you have to apply base on that spot before you can clear coat, or you'll see where you sanded. Here I'm running out of intercoat clear. I almost cropped this part of the video out, but I wanted to demonstrate how with the Deckup's collapsible cup system you can spray upside down by turning the gun upside down and pulling the trigger until all the air is removed from the liner. I should have did that from the very beginning. It probably would have worked out a little bit better, especially knowing I have just a limited amount of intercoat clear for this demonstration. I wanted to save enough to do the ghost flame effect, which is right here. I'm adding some gold powder pearl to the remainder of the intercoat clear, which is going to be used as a carrier for the pearl. You can use a couple of different methods. You can use actual clear coat, but then you'd have to let that dry for several hours or even a day, sand it, and clear coat it again, or you can use base coat balancers and binders and standox. You can use $5.99, but this is intercoat clear. The $5.99 in standox is called it's called a base coat stabilizer. It's a clear product. It has just a tiny little yellow tinge to it. Not enough to make much of a difference. The powder pearl goes a long ways. As you can see, I only added, I don't know, milligrams to that amount of intercoat clear. Excuse me. And that's it. Cap it off. Save it for the morning. Another good thing about these Deckups is you can use them for storage. They aren't cheap, but they're worth every penny. To get the shop startup kit is around $150 to $200. Comes with 32 cups and liners and some other stuff. And there's the intercoat clear.